no, it's that kind of, so I like the idea of kind of, what is it with these weird normals? You know, what's their problem?
Yes, sir. One of the last sentences made me think regarding disabilities as a possibilities. Like, how should we consider the market's point of view, like, you know, in the, which is relating to accessibility? Like, this is one of the main arguments, that people with disabilities are actors of the market with demands, instead of, you know, it's a kind of shift from they have needs, special needs, as like children or sick people, and become like really actively part of the market economy. So how should we consider this, you know, idea in disability studies, like disabled as a market player?
Well, I mean, one of the things that drew us towards that was our project was called Every Child Matters Post Blair, and Blair's government in Britain introduced the Every Child Matters campaign, which was basically a policy kind of driver. Well, there were a number of aims to it. One was to stay healthy, be safe. The last one was to achieve economic well-being. So when I took my daughters in, you know, 4.5 into school, and it said that on the wall, achieve economic well-being, I was like, great, they're going to work. They're going to put money in, they'll be going up chimneys. So it has very much in mind that's the neoliberal subject. The neoliberal subject, citizen of the market. The marketiser that you describe it. I think it's usually problematic, particularly for people with learning difficulties, who may well never achieve that idealised other. And I think what worries me about the kind of idea of accessibility to the market, which you're pushing out there, is, for example, you know, inclusion within schools. Well, how can you? We know this. The reason, one of the main reasons disabled children don't do well in mainstream schools is because the schools are increasingly you know, assessed by, you know, Ofsted, subjected to league tables, you know, the curriculum's being narrowed and narrowed and narrowed, so that, because it's got this particular type of citizen in mind. And I think that's what the disability allows the opportunity to say, well, what is education about then? God, you know, you're getting stickers for sitting down well. You know, so I think your question is really important and allows us to trouble some of these assumptions that are unproblematically smuggled in to schools. Schools are just, it seems, such tense, dreadful places for teachers, for parents, for kids. If you are a bit different, you disrupt it. That's why you hoofed out, really. So I'd share the concern.
Is there one more question at the back?
Yeah, I'm just interested in, you're talking about normal and able and disabled and that, and I mean, it's an interesting debate at the moment about the fact that the space for normality is actually shrinking. I was just listening to a talk the other day in Denmark about the diagnosed life, a book where they're talking that, you know, more and more people are being diagnosed with something. I mean, you mentioned about ADHD and that, but I'm just wondering if that starts to, like, part of your argument, you're talking about able, disabled, and this labelling and the self and the other, but those are simple kind of bipolar categories. If you start saying that more and more of supposedly normal, in some cases for various reasons, as you say, access to services, I think they want other labels. So more and more, you know, they want extra points or extra time in an exam because they have some reading problem or whatever. I mean, it's been used, I think these categories, in other words, are starting to become much more variegated. So it's no longer just able, disabled, normal, abnormal. And in actual fact, I mean, that's going on in the society, the labelling right across the whole spectrum, which in some cases then is not necessarily a negative, because in some ways also, you know, paradoxically, getting a label can, as you say, be in some cases positive. I'm just...
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it's Leonard Davis has talked about as living in a post-normal society. That, you know, that everyone's getting those kind of labels. I suppose one of the interesting things to ask about that, I mean, to think about that. Thanks for bringing that up, because I think to what extent are particular labels also enforcing some of these kind of idealised ideas of the citizen. So I'll give an example. One would be Asperger's syndrome, that is being appropriated more and more and more by people for fully functioning people on that spectrum. And I wonder what that serves, because many of those people still are kind of citizens of the big other, They're still doing those kind of things, but their quirkiness is being defined in this particular way. So there's this, I suppose, kind of elision of psychologisation alongside the kind of, you know, being the ideal citizen. But I think, you know, definitely I need to think more about it. That it's not binary as it is, a bit more variegated. So thank you.
All right, so with that, I will close the session and thank you so much for your attention, and you can all pick up your Sitting Well stickers at the door.